Bill Self's Jayhawks were shining last night as the number 3 ranked Kansas squad defeated number 24 TCU 63-58. The win moved the Jayhawks a half game above Texas in the Big 12 standings. So, Gary, what stood out to you in this game?
That Kansas went to a hostile environment against a team that, when healthy, is literally one of the best teams in the country. And by healthy, I mean when Mike Miles Jr. is in the lineup like he was last night. And they won the game, controlled it pretty much from start to finish, and held TCU to just 58 points. This is the same TCU team that just 2 days earlier scored 100 on Oklahoma State. So Kansas was really, really effective on the defensive side of the ball. And just broadly speaking, you know, what Bill Self is doing this season, I think a lot of us have taken for granted. Everybody knows the Jayhawks won the national championship last season. They lost 4 of their top 5 players from that team, 6 of the top 8, including 2 first-round NBA draft picks. And yet here they are again, now with 14 Quadrant 1 wins. That's 5 more than anybody else in the country. They are projected now to win the Big 12. They are projected now to be the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, perhaps the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament. If they keep on this trajectory, you just cannot overstate what Bill has been able to do despite losing everything he lost. And it's why any serious conversation about National Coach of the Year has got to involve him.
Yeah, it's wild. This might be the team right now that I'm the most confident in as we head into March. Duke took down Louisville 79-62. Jon Scheyer's squad, GP, improves to 14-0 at home. But let's kind of go big picture with this. Is Duke finding some momentum here at the most important time?
Yes. Now, I don't think Duke is ever going to be as good as some of us thought they were going to be in the preseason when they were ranked in the top 10. But they're clearly headed in the right direction. They look like a team that is safely going to make the NCAA tournament. 6-2 in their past 8 games. And a lot of this is just injury related. You know, Duke has played 28 games this season. Jeremy Roach has missed 4 of them. He's the starting point guard. Dariq Whitehead, one of the 5-star freshmen, he's missed 8 of them. Derek Lively, another 5-star freshman, has been mostly healthy, but mostly ineffective. He's giving them better minutes now. Roach is healthy enough to be on the court. Whitehead healthy enough to be on the court. I don't think I'm going to pick Duke to go to a Final Four or anything like that, but the disastrous season that it looked like might be in the cards for Jon Scheyer in year 1 after replacing Mike Krzyzewski, that now seems to be off the table. Duke is going to be in the NCAA tournament, probably not a national championship contender, though.
A troubling development today regarding the involvement of Alabama basketball players in a deadly shooting last month. Police testified today that freshman standout Brandon Miller brought a gun to then teammate Darius Miles at Miles' request and was present during the altercation near campus that erupted into gunfire and left a 23-year-old woman dead. Miles is facing capital murder charges in the incident. Miller has not been charged with any crime, and as of Tuesday afternoon, Gary had not been disciplined by the Tide.
Yeah, this is a big headline that is obviously troubling, because the shorter version of that is the best player on a projected number 1 seed was at least loosely involved in an incident that led to the death of a young woman, a young mother. Brandon Miller literally, as police testified today, brought the gun that was used to kill this woman to the scene of the crime. Now, that doesn't mean that he knew it was going to result in that, but it does mean that that is what it resulted in, and I'm frankly shocked at the way the Alabama basketball program has handled this so far, because like you mentioned, he has not been disciplined as of this moment, and I understand even if he's not charged with a crime, that he might not have legal problems, but this is a basketball program. Representing a major university is a privilege, not a right. And even the best version of this story has your star player possessing a gun that's not his late at night and handing it off to somebody who then handed it off to somebody who used it to kill a young woman. It's obviously a devastating and troubling story. And, I think if Brandon Miller were somebody other than one of the very best players in the country, he would have already been suspended and perhaps dismissed from a basketball team.
All right, well, Gary, there are layers to this. Head coach Nate Oates said today they were aware of Miller's alleged involvement, but that Miller was, quote, wrong spot at the wrong time and not in any trouble. What's your reaction, and you sort of led yourself there, on how Oates and Alabama are handling this situation as we speak?
I think Nate Oates is a tremendous basketball coach. I have a lot of respect for him. I can't believe those words came out of his mouth. This is not a wrong place at the wrong time situation. Wrong place at the wrong time is you're at a party, minding your own business, having a good time, and then something like this pops off on the other side of the room. And you're just wrong place, wrong time. Brandon Miller contributed to this being the, quote, wrong place. Like, the only way that that gun in that moment was used to kill this woman is because he showed up with it. So this wasn't just Brandon Miller happened to be around and then gunfire erupted. He literally brought the gun to the place where gunfire erupted. That's not wrong place, wrong time. I'll be shocked if Nate Oates doesn't, at some point in the next 24 hours, say something along the lines of he wishes he would have chose his words a little more carefully, differently, because he chose them pretty badly this afternoon.
All right, and lastly, Gary, Miller is a projected first-round pick in the NBA draft. He, again, has not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing at this point, but what impact do you think this situation has on his draft stock and status moving forward?
Well, it's definitely not good. Now, I don't want to say that it's going to be the type of thing that takes him from being the third pick in the draft to the 13th or the 23rd pick in the draft, but it is definitely, like, actually the first thing NBA executives are going to want to talk to Brandon Miller about. Why did you do this? How did you get involved? Did you know what was going to happen? He will have to answer a series of questions about this because just from a pure basketball perspective, this is a guy who should definitely be a top 5 pick in the draft. But now there's this other variable that has to be considered. Who are you spending this type of pick on? Who are you investing these millions of dollars in? Is it a good person who just made a poor decision, or is this symbolic of something else about his character? Again, I'm not going to make that judgment from this chair, but NBA executives are going to have to determine who is this person we want to spend all this money on and this draft pick on, because if he is somebody who could get caught up in these types of things or lives this type of lifestyle, then that's obviously a big, big risk.
We're back, and it's time for the Shine 9. The NBA All-Star break is behind us. So what better time than now to see where we stand? Gary's been crafting this NBA power ranking, so let's get it going. And should be noted, these are teams that you have forecasted out to be championship caliber. It's not the top teams, top 9 right now.
That's right. I'm not. When I rank basketball teams, I'm ranking them on what they have accomplished to this point. This is more or less, these are the 9 teams that I think have the best shot to actually win an NBA title.
All right, let's start at number 9 then, GP.
That'll be the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I don't think the Sixers are a legitimate championship contender, even though I believe the NBA is probably more wide open this season than it is in most seasons. But this is still a franchise that has Joel Embiid and has James Harden, and you have to always take a franchise that's got 2 superstars like that seriously. The NBA, more than any other league, comes down to who is healthy and who's got the most superstars. If nothing else, Philadelphia at least has 2 of those guys, so it gives them a fighting chance.
All right, you got the Warriors, the defending champs, at number 8.
Yeah, I just put them on here mostly out of respect because, you know, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, those guys have accomplished a lot. But Evan, I know there hasn't been a single thing that has happened this season that makes you think Golden State is actually a serious contender to repeat as NBA champions. They did just add a new piece that was an old piece, a previous piece, Gary Payton II, but even he has injury issues that are well documented. I put them on there out of respect. I do not think the Warriors are repeating.
And number 7, it's the new look Mavericks.
And this is just, it goes back to the superstar thing. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, they are flawed defensively as a backcourt, but boy, when you talk about 2 of the really all-time great individual players, and both those guys are going to end up making that list by the time their careers are done. To be clear, I wouldn't want Kyrie Irving anywhere near my franchise.
Do you feel good about talking about forecasting that this is a smooth ride all the way through to potentially May?
No, I don't feel good about that.
Is that why they're 7?
When's the last time Kyrie Irving was a part of a smooth anything? But that guy is an incredible basketball player. I'll argue with him about a whole list of topics, but on basketball court, he is incredible. The question is just like, can you trust him to be available all of the time? If he is, he's a special talent, and when you got 2 guys like that on your roster, then you've got at least, again, a fighting chance.
At number 6, it's the LA Clippers.
Same thing. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, when healthy, have shown to be one of the best duos in the NBA. The Clippers are just they are what they are, and they did just add at least an interesting piece in Russell Westbrook. Now, we'll see what that looks like. I've seen other people call it the new Big Three. I'm not ready
exhausting.
to do that. There's a reason why the Lakers wanted to get away from Russell Westbrook.
And like 4 other teams in the last 2 years.
That's right. So I don't blame the Clippers for taking a shot on it. We'll see what happens. But ultimately, unless Russell Westbrook is different than he's looked in recent years, or more specifically, more willing to play a different role enthusiastically and recognize he's not a superstar anymore, then there's probably a ceiling on what these Clippers can do.
So our next team, I don't know if to take this as a positive or a negative, but you went with your Grizzlies at 5.
I think 5 is a reasonable place for them because
it's a hedge too.
When they are healthy, and by healthy it means they have a starting lineup of Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Steven Adams. They are undeniably one of the best teams in the NBA. They are awesome at home. I think in a 7-game series, they can beat literally anybody, but they have been less than awesome on the road. The numbers are the numbers, and reasonable minds can disagree, but there's some thought that one of the things that gets said about the Grizzlies all the time is they're incredible and they're very young. Mm-hmm. Well, that very young thing might lead to a lack of maturity on the road. That could be an issue. Maybe not in the playoffs, but it's clearly been an issue in this regular season. If you look at the breakdown between home record and road record, it is pretty dramatic. But Ja Morant has said he's fine in the West. I don't think he's as fine in the West as he thought he was when he said that, but the Grizzlies still have a shot to reach the NBA Finals. And, yeah, if they get there, they can win the whole thing.
All right, let's stay in the West then. At number 4, you've got the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, they've got the best record in the West and the best player in the West in Nikola Jokic, who is on the verge, it appears, of winning what would be a 3rd straight MVP. Wow. I know people are hesitant about doing 3 straight because literally nothing but all-time greats have ever done something like that. But if you recognize it's a regular season award and you try to ask yourself the question, who's having the best regular season as a player? When you combine individual stats and team success, for me right now, it's not even close. Jokic is that guy, and I hope for Denver's sake that they are at full strength when these playoffs start, because they've rarely been, and that's a negative on his career, that he's a 2-time MVP that really hasn't done much in the postseason. I think it's important for his legacy, assuming he's going to win a 3rd straight MVP, that he does advance at least to the Western Conference Finals.
And number 3, we fear the deer, Giannis and the Bucks.
Yeah, I think any team with Giannis Antetokounmpo on it is going to be a championship contender. He's got Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, guys who have won at a high level with this franchise. And then Chris Middleton, who is obviously terrific, but still has lingering soreness in his right knee that, he's been limited much of this season and still is not 100%. You tell me how he's going to feel when the playoffs start. I'll tell you how well I think Milwaukee's going to do once the playoffs get going. But certainly, if healthy, that Milwaukee franchise is, I think, clearly the biggest threat to Boston in the East.
All right, closing in on number 1 here at 2, you went with the Celtics.
And that's the best record in the Eastern Conference. The All-Star Game MVP, Jason Tatum, you see him there, is having a tremendous season. Scored 55 points Sunday night in that All-Star Game to set an NBA All-Star Game record. His teammate Jaylen Brown, Joe Mazzulla, doing a wonderful job in year 1 with the Celtics as the head coach. That's why he had that interim tag removed and is now the full-time head coach. If you were trying to project who's coming out of the East right now, it seems pretty obvious to me the best bet is the Boston Celtics.
All right, we made it to number 1, and it's the Phoenix Suns and Kevin Durant at some point.
Yeah, if all you do is look at the standings, the current standings, you would not project Phoenix to come out of the West.
Yeah, this goes back to your point. This is projecting, forecasting out.
But I don't know if you heard, but at the trade deadline, they added Kevin Durant, and he's a difference maker. When you talk about a team that's got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, what you were talking about, a team that is on paper the best team in the NBA. Again, Chris Paul has injury issues that have creeped up in the postseason. Kevin Durant has been hurt a lot, is literally hurt right now. But if you tell me that the Phoenix Suns are going to be healthy on day 1 of the playoffs and throughout the playoffs, I'll tell you that is the team that's got the best chance to win the NBA championship.
And that's a Shine 9. Well done, GP.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.